to talk about the measure of center for you guys. So what is a measure of center? When we are talking about measure of center, we are looking for a typical value. So the measure of center, or when you're reading news or listening to different types of news on your computer or on TV, you see the typical value, like typical housing prices or typical salary, typical housing prices. When we're talking about this, we are talking about a measure of center. When it comes to the data that you're working with, measure of center can be three things in statistics. The measure of center can be one of the following. It can either be the average or mean, average or mean. It can be mode, or it can be the median. When we're talking about measure of center of the data, you're either referring to the mean or average, mode, or median. So we're going to define each one of these separately. When it comes to the mean or average, we are basically collecting all the data, adding them together, and divide by the number of value in your collection. So to find the mean, we basically add all numerical values, all values, and then divide by the number of values in your collection. How many data do you have in your collection? The number of values. So remember, when we introduced data, we talked about population and also we talked about sample. And we said that, hey, each data has a different numerical representation. When you're working with your population, let me make sure we can see everything here. When you're working with your population, this is a population, the huge data in it. When you're finding the measure of center for population, in this specific case, the mean, we have a representation. We have a symbol that we are representing our mean with it. We represent the mean of population with Greek letter mu. So the bullet point here, the population mean is denoted by, is represented by, denoted by Greek letter mu. So I'm going to use a different color so you see mu. It's just tilted M, but it is Greek letter mu, like a sound of a cat, right? Very good. So when we are finding the population center, population mean, you're going to represent that by mu. However, when you're working with a sample, sample was a smaller part of the population. Sample was subset of population. So here, if you have a sample, the sample mean, another bullet point here for you, for those of you who are taking notes, the sample mean is denoted by or represented by X bar. So you have X bar. When you read a paper, when you're working on your homework question and you're studying for the exam, you see mu It means that you have population mean. The center of population, the typical value of population is denoted by mean. When you're working with a sample, which is a sub-collection of population, the symbol that we use for sample mean is X bar. Usually, they are different from each other. But in statistics, as a statistician, we don't have all the necessary means, we don't have time, we don't have all the resources to collect everything about the population. So instead, we just focus on our sample instead. Just the important note for you. Just note that. In statistics, since we don't have enough resources, instead of working with population, we work with samples that are sub-collection of population. Sub-collection of population. So in general, when we're talking about adding the data and dividing them by the number of values in your collection, it doesn't matter if it's a population or if it's a sample, we're going to add all data together. Add all data and divide them by the number of data in the collection. So if it's a sample with like 20 data in it, you're going to divide by 20. If it's a population with 1 million data in it, you're going to divide by 1 million. Add all data divided by the number of data in your collection. So again, sample mean represented by X bar, population mean is represented by mu. Remember these two symbols.